that is my finished little bloody horn. Hey guys, welcome back. Today I have a little bit of like a prep tutorial for you. So I'm going to show you how to make some horns out of thickened liquid latex. So I'm going to be doing the same way that Ellie Max do, and that's thickening it with actual flour. I'm just using all-purpose flour, gradually mixing it in with the latex and then just sculpting it then and there with the latex and then letting it fully dry. Now I'm not going to say what this is for, as the tutorials will be coming soon. I'm planning on using it for 2 separate tutorials, so you guys will just have to wait. But for this you will want a cup, a spoon, latex and some flour. Now I'd highly recommend not using a cup or a spoon that you're probably ever going to use again, as it's probably not very safe to eat off a spoon that's had latex on it and whatnot. It's better just to use, if you've got disposable stuff, that's even better, but just stuff that's not going to get used again. Now I feel like I saw somewhere that Ellie just said that you can microwave it and it cures faster. So I'm going to do a little test just to see if that's possible, because if that's the case, that's going to make it a lot easier for you guys. It doesn't worry me too much because I do not need the horns ASAP or anything like that, but it can speed up the process if you are needing it to. When working with latex, guys, you always need to just be wary that some people are allergic. If you aren't sure on yourself, always patch test it first, as you do not want to apply it to your face or anything like that, which we won't be doing today, but you just want to double check that you're not going to have a reaction to it if it is on your skin. And also do not wear any clothes that you want to potentially wear again, as latex, if it gets on your clothes, will ruin your clothes. But that said, I'm going to take you down to the table and we'll get going. So I'd highly recommend starting out, guys, that you do not use too much latex to begin with. Otherwise, you may waste a fair bit, as once you start to add the flour, it does really start to dry out. So just keep that in mind when doing it, guys, that it's best to start with a smaller amount and work your way up. Especially when working with such a small amount, I'd highly recommend doing small spoonfuls, even half to quarter spoonfuls at a time, just to make sure that you don't overload it with flour, because the flour will absorb the latex and it will get too thick and you won't be able to work with it. So it's best to do less to begin with and just really slowly, gradually add the flour, making sure you are mixing it really well in between. Now I do not have an exact ratio for this, but if you do slowly add the flour, you will be okay. You can just do it yourself and just take it slow and it'll be all okay, guys. You also just want to have a small amount of liquid latex that hasn't been thickened on the side to dip your tools and your fingers in so the latex doesn't stick to you. Now you just want to put the thick latex on the plate that you will be microwaving. Just try and get it on top of each other, not like me, who managed to get it in 2 separate piles. So once you're happy with how much you actually have on the plate, it's time to get sculpting. I'd highly recommend covering several fingers in the latex, in the unthickened latex I should say, and just slowly working it into the shape that you want. Once you are happy with the shape, of course, it is time to add a little bit of detail. I'm just going to use like a sharp wooden tool that I just dip in the latex, just to add the kind of grooves that you usually see in bones. Now it is hard to do little detail in latex, so I find that you have to go quite dramatic, but once it actually cooks, I don't feel like it looks too absurd. So don't stress, guys, sometimes you got to push in a little bit harder than you think you have to actually get the lines to show up once it is cooked. Now I don't really know what I'm doing here. I haven't made many actual latex prosthetics before this way, so we are just learning this together, guys. But I will admit, it literally takes only 10 seconds in the microwave, 15, 20 max. It is so quick, it's crazy. So I just microwaved that for, I think it was about 20 seconds before I was like, I should probably check on it and hope that it's not exploding or ruining my microwave, which I highly do suggest that you do not breathe in as you open the microwave, because the fumes that have come off that are horrendous. It doesn't necessarily stink out, but it was stinging my eyes like latex does when it gets too close. I think I might have expanded a little bit. I think that is my fault. I think I may have used self-raising flour, which if you're gonna cook it, that's what it's gonna do. But with that 20 seconds, it is no longer tacky to touch. It is pretty much cured. Like, it's not tacky. I'm not gonna squish it too hard because I'm afraid that if I did, it may not bounce back. But holy moly, that's a game changer right there. But I do definitely think that it has expanded a little bit. So I think if you just used plain flour, it might just be from heating it that it will expand regardless, and it's a little bit airy underneath, which it wouldn't have been if I just let it cure in general. So I definitely made these slightly too big. However, if I did make them smaller and then cook them off, that'd be perfect, pretty much. That'd be perfect for like shoulder horns, But I also will be doing another sculpt around the edge of this, so it will be like I want the skin to be peeling back. So when I put it on, it's not just a horn sitting there, it looks like it's coming out of the skin. So the fact that you can cure this first and then do another layer all in the matter of a couple of minutes is pretty goddamn wicked in my opinion. But I definitely recommend doing it for maybe 10 seconds, not even 20, as this is still warm and it's probably been about 5 minutes. I'm glad I didn't leave it unsupervised for like 30 seconds because I think it would have probably exploded. But I'm actually pretty impressed with how thin the edges did come on this. You could put it on there and just blend it out with a little bit of like extra latex or prosthetics or whatever you want to do to build up the edge, and it'd be pretty goddamn smooth. But I will put this up real close so you can see, but it does have, I know it wasn't the texture I was going for, it is a bit bumpy and lumpy, which is probably due to me not mixing it enough, but it's kind of got that, not bone look about it, because bones aren't usually lumpy like that, but fantasy style horn, like an orc would have it, if you get me. But it's really quite squishy, which I think I'm nearly gonna call this like the poor man's foam latex. Like it's bouncing back and everything and it's doing pretty well. And it's really quite light, like for that size. Probably wouldn't want it much bigger than that though, because it probably would if I didn't have the corrected piece here, but fall off. So I'm just applying a little bit of the latex down to try and stick it back to the plate so it doesn't move around while I'm sculpting. Then just with a small spatula, I'm going in and applying the base around the horn. That'll soon be the skin. I really quite like the texture of like unorganized latex around the base of something. It does give quite a organic skin look anyway, as long as you aren't too pedantic with it. I then just go in with the spatula after I have smoothed out the base and just go in and really tidy up to make sure that the latex isn't blending in to the horn too much, just to make it really have that edge like the skin is tearing back. Now I would highly recommend when microwaving these that you do it for 10-second intervals, just because it does continue to cook further once it is taken out. So you can see the difference between the horn now and the horn when I first took it out of the microwave. It did still have white spots on it, but it took a couple of minutes and they then cooked themselves and dried. So don't stress too much if it's not 100% the same color. Just trust me, guys, trust me. This is literally a game changer, guys. I had never enjoyed making like latex prosthetics for the fact that they just took so long. You had to let them fully dry for a couple of days. And then even once you took it out, if there was no airflow underneath the prosthetic, you then had to let that dry. Otherwise it was still tacky and stuff. It was just a really long process. But this is literally a game changer. I'm actually in complete and utter shock. This makes me so happy. As long as you are comfortable like with sculpting by hand and not pouring into a mold and stuff, this is absolutely perfect. I'm not sure how it would go with a mold. I'm not sure how plaster goes in the microwave, but I mean, there's always one way to find out. I'm almost speechless. This is next level. Now I would highly recommend, if you do have a microwave that is old and not being used, to obviously use that, as you do not want to ruin a perfectly good microwave by putting latex fumes all in it, which I think I might nearly have to invest in a microwave just to put in my room, because this is, I'm gonna reiterate the fact that this is a goddamn game changer. I'd always thought this was just a lot more effort than like sculpting, casting, and then like molding. And I do get that you have to make each individual one, but I could make a prosthetic in like 5 minutes. Now while I've got you here, I'm gonna try and color this just to see how it does transfer directly on top of it and whether or not it holds nice and whatnot. Now for this, I'm gonna use the Benai. This is the bruise wheel. Left me for a minute there. I'm gonna put on some drying blood, just because that is my favorite to put on prosthetics that I'm coloring before I put them on my face, just because it will dry and it will set in place and it will still have a little bit of a sheen to it, so it does look like nice fresh blood. This is of course expensive blood. So if you want to skip this step and just apply the blood once it's already on your face, by all means go for it, but this is just what I'm going to do today. I might actually go in with a little bit of the Benai cream colour first and just put a white base down on the actual sticky out bit. What's that called? Horn. So I feel like it's hard for you guys to see. I feel like it's reflecting quite a lot. Maybe if I turn the brightness down, you'll be able to see a little bit better. There we go. It did transfer reasonably well. It is just a nice kind of light bone color, which I don't know where to put this for you guys to see better. But I mean, it still is a little bit transparent. So I mean, you can still see the base color underneath it, but I do feel like it's holding reasonably well. It doesn't seem to be transferring actually off the latex too much, which is pretty goddamn good. Now I'm just going to apply kind of some red from the bruise wheel just up along the edge here and around the actual rim of like where the skin would have torn. Just using the same brush. Just going to wipe off the brush just to really blend the two together. Bringing it more like up along the horn and across, if you get what I mean. and there's a horn for you, just to make it really look a little bit more irritated, like it is piercing through the skin. Of course, depending on what you were doing, if you just wanted the horn to be like, that's where it lives, that's where it's always been, you wouldn't necessarily have to put the red irritant around it, but that's what I'm doing. Now for the blood, I think I might just get a really thin brush and just kind of try and dab it on, like this little one. And then just trying to like bring the blood down, like it's pushed through the skin and taken some of the blood with it. So there we have it, guys. That is my finished little bloody horn. If you wanted to make it look a little bit more like aged, you could of course put like a browner base down the bottom and make it look a little bit more kind of like ivory instead of just stark white, but that is the color that I wanted. I wanted it over the top, a little bit crazy looking. But if you were wanting to make it look a little bit more like bone, I'd go a little bit more yellow, maybe a little bit more brown, kind of like elephant tusks. Think of that, get that as a reference photo, and that'll do it for you. To know that I can make a prosthetic like this in, I'm gonna say, give yourself 10 minutes. A couple minutes to mix it, a couple minutes to sculpt it, 20 seconds to microwave it, and then you've got a full-blown prosthetic ready to stick on you. It's literally opened up a whole new world for me. This is, thank you so much for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on that little notification bell so you do not miss out on any other tutorials I have coming this October for you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye!